one of the main reasons why I wanted to do this today was to get parents to stop telling their children to go to school, get good grades, and get a good job.
Welcome to Quadrants of Mental Health. I am your host, Dr. AJ, affectionately known as Dr. AJ Johnson, but you can just call me AJ. I'm good with that.
So today we're going to cover finances briefly, because I'm learning through meeting with clients. I just got off a call today that a client of mine is having some difficulty with finances, which is causing what? Stress. So we have to put ourselves, our lives on project status. It's one of the challenges. When we're talking about self-care, that's your mind, your body, your spirit, and your finances. And one of the main reasons why I wanted to do this today was to get parents to stop telling their children to go to school, get good grades, and get a good job. Please stop telling your children that. That worked in the 1900s, the early 1900s. That worked in the 50s. That worked in the 60s. It does not work today. Getting a good job is not the answer for most children, for most people these days. Okay? Having a high degree does not work for most people. In fact, 80% of people who have college degrees don't ever use their degree. You get a degree in communications, and then you go work at McDonald's or you work at a veterinarian place. I'm speaking of people that I know who have done that. Get these degrees, you're in debt, and then you get a low-paying minimum wage job. I've talked to people who have MBAs. They don't even know how to start and run a business themselves. Master's degree in business administration. Okay? What we want to start teaching our children is, tell me how you want to live. Ask them that question. What do you want your life to look like? What do you want to be in 20 years, 30 years? Because we know there's an accumulation effect of wealth. Okay? You're not going to just snap your fingers and get it. It's not going to happen that way. But here's an example of accumulation. And we're talking roughly starting at 20 years old, 18 years old, with $25 a week. $25 a week. Okay? I keep banging the table. $25 a week, you would have to save $100 a month, which will require discipline. If you saved $100 a month for 25 years, you'll be 55 years old. Okay? Let's put it in an index fund. Now, if you want to know more about index funds, I want to say, go on YouTube, do some research. Okay? A lot of them are out there. So if you save that money for 25 years, you will be a millionaire. Now, here's what rich people do. Oh, before I go with rich people, I'm going to tell you this. If you wait 10 years and start to save the money, then you will have about $300,000. So the earlier you invest, the longer you invest, the more money you will accumulate, the more wealth you will accumulate, okay? My formula for wealth is create an asset producing enough income equal to your expenses. If you have my book, if you read my book, it's in my book. Wealth equals an asset producing income equal to your expenses. And if you can produce that, if it takes 10 years, 20 years to get there, the bottom line is you don't need a job anymore. Now you have the money, the resources to what? Help to begin. I'm going to say to begin to create generational wealth. Okay? This is what rich people do that we don't do. We will go and borrow money and buy a car. Right? They will borrow money and buy an asset that's going to produce income. So I heard the story of Robert Kiyosaki. He wanted a car. Can't remember the name of the car. It was an expensive car. He borrowed money and he opened up a storage unit facility. The income from the storage unit facility paid for his car. So the car was paid. After the car was paid off, guess what he still had? He still had the business. He still had the asset. So we have to teach our children how to create assets, the benefit of asset creation. Otherwise, what happens? You go to school, you get good grades, you get a good job, and you work until you die. That's what the generation is saying now. You work until you die. We used to say work until you retire. It's not happening anymore, okay? You have to learn these things, and I'm going to tell you, it's not difficult. It takes discipline. You have to discipline yourself. When you get your paycheck, don't even look at it. Just put it in their account. Have it automatically drafted to that account if you need to. If that's going to help you to maintain the discipline, because you want to accumulate that $2 million, and then you start buying businesses, creating businesses. If you ever play the game Cash Flow, I highly recommend that. I love that game. I started teaching my children that game when they were 12 years old. But if you ever play that game, this is what we're doing. You're actually playing the game. You accumulate wealth, and then you start buying businesses. And those businesses give you enough passive income so that you can retire. In the game, you have to create $50,000 a month in passive income. Okay? Could you live off of $50,000 a month? I think I could. What could you do with $50,000 a month? Whether you get out of bed or not, that $50,000 is coming in. See, these are the things we need to teach our children. These are the things we need to model for them, because getting a good job and going to school and getting a good job, to me, it sounds like debt. When I was doing mortgages, I had a lady, she had a PhD. She was making $12 an hour at a facility. And her loans were about to come due. Because after 6 months of graduating, those loans come due. Her only answer was to go back to school and get another PhD. So now you become not a serial entrepreneur like my cousins say, you become a serial student. She's going to be a student for the rest of her life, because she will never make enough money to pay those loans off. I have friends that are $200,000, $300,000 in debt because of the financial information they had when they were kids. They're frustrated. They're not happy. $100 a month. Discipline. Remember what you want most instead of right now. Remember what you need to do. So if you accumulate this money, what if you have a little bit of money? Set up accounts, multiple accounts. Put $100 in each of them. You're going to create more wealth. Robert Allen, I've read some of his stuff. He's a real estate guy. He would teach another way. $100 a month for 20 years if you could find an account that's going to pay you between 18 and 23%. And that brings in rule of 72. But if you could get 23% interest rate, and believe it or not, there may be some accounts out there like that, especially if you are looking at a real estate index fund, 23%. After 20 years, you'll have $2.3 million if you can save for 20 years. $2.3 million. Now, you can start to pull from that money if you want to, or you can take that money and borrow against that money. That's what rich people do. They don't spend their money. They get bank loans to start new businesses, to buy things with. We, of course, because we're employees, we're consumers, we're consumer driven, we're going to go and spend that money. I've known families to sell land and to go out and buy a car, buy a liability, because it's never a positive asset. Now, we know that car prices are going up nowadays, so if you want to sell a car, you can make a little bit of money off of it. But if you need to buy a car, they're expensive. So do it the way rich people do it. I want to buy a car, so I'm going to start a business. It's called delayed gratification first, right? Delayed gratification, start the business, and let the business pay for it. Now, I mentioned rule of 72. And a lot of people probably never heard of that. If you've been doing some research on YouTube, you may have. Okay, rule of 72 states you take the interest rate that you're going to get and divide it by 72 and let you know how fast your money will double. Okay, so if you're getting 23%, your money will double every 3 years. But if you're getting 3%, your money will double every 24 years. Okay, rule of 72. 3% divided by 72 is roughly 24. We can leave off the point. I'm just rounding it up, okay? So you want to fight for the interest rate. Banks will charge you money. You put your money in the bank and they loan your money out. You can go get a loan off of your money. That's what they do. So why don't you learn or teach your children, or if a family, you become the bank? Imagine if a family came together and they put in $100 a month. If you got 5 family members, 10 family members, 20 and everybody put in $100 a month. Over time, you gotta allow it to be in the market, because in the market you're gonna buy the lows. I believe in buying low. People say people will sell high. No, they'll buy high and sell low. When the market goes down, most people will be selling. No, that's when you buy. Rich people buy when it's at the bottom. Okay, they know the market is going to go up and down. It ebbs and flows. It's supposed to. That's how money is generated. Okay, that's how wealth is transferred. So you can go buy Fortune 100 stock and pay $700 for it. They'll wait and buy it for $150 and buy more of it. But you want to get it there or stable. Yeah, it's not going anywhere, but you're not making a lot of money off of it either. So understanding the market, do some research. And I tell people all the time, the best investment you can ever make is in yourself first. Learn these things, become an expert first before you start to invest. Even what I'm saying, don't listen to me if you haven't done your own research. Okay? But the rule of 72, you take the interest rate, divide it by 72, it'll let you know how fast your money will double. You can talk to anyone in the financial industry and they know of rule of 72. In fact, if you are on the business side of it, there's another rule called Rule 25, no, it's called 524 rule. Okay, I'm not even going to teach on that one today, because a lot of us maybe not business owners. But if you are an employee, you can become wealthy if you discipline yourself for 20 years. Teach your children to start saving a percentage of their income. One of my favorite books I've read years ago is called The Richest Man in Babylon. And Rule of Gold, it was like 5 rules of gold. And number 1 rule of gold says, pay yourself first. Take a 10% of whatever you make and you save it. What do? We spend it all. They say within the black community, if you want to say African American community, our money, within 8 hours of us getting paid, we're in somebody else's business spending our money. Okay? I used to do this for years. I was at Public Access in Richmond, Virginia, Comcast. I did a show there called Mind Your Own Business, in which I taught families. I said, if you're the president of your home, treat your home like a business and you're the president. Would you hire yourself to run that business? Treat your home like a business. Look at home-based businesses. Create a business. There's so many things to do. Being broke in America is like starving in a grocery store. And if you want a check, if that's all you're about is getting a check, then you will never be wealthy. And what happens when that check gets cut off? What happens when the government decides, hey, we're not going to give money for this anymore? Okay, you'll be 40, 50, 60 years old looking for your first job. Save your money, invest your money. Don't put your money in the bank. Because when you put your money in the bank, guess what they do? They take your money and lend it out. They make money off of you. Okay? I could go on and on, but I'm going to shut it down because I just wanted to be brief today with that financial piece, because we have to understand that we have to teach our children better. We have to do better ourselves, and we have to model. When I say teach, I'm talking about defining, give examples, model, catch them doing it correctly, and praise. That's the steps to teaching. We have to do better financially. Read books. Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Cash Flow Quadrant. One good book I've been passing out lately is called The Magic of Thinking Big. So we have to start to read books that's going to help us and open our minds up. And the best question you could ever ask yourself and ask the universe, ask God, is, how can I? Because when you ask that question, guess what? You get an answer. Some people say I can, and you're right. I love this. I love this scripture. It says, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." And with that, I am done. Just remember, start to save and invest. Not save money in the bank, but to invest over time, and you will become wealthy. Thank you for listening to me. This is Quadrants of Mental Health by AJ, Dr. AJ. We're done for the day. I like that. We're done for the day.
Have a story to tell? Let Quadrant Podcast Studios help you bring your vision to life. That's quad-pod.com.